Hello again, friends. Marcus Jackman at Gospel Church in Riverton, Utah. When's the last time that somebody overlooked or ignored your qualifications or your insight? What happened in your heart at that moment? I remember one time years ago sitting in a meeting and the supervisor running the meeting said something like, well, so-and-so had this suggestion, and I think it's the right idea, so we're going to blah, blah, blah. And I spent an embarrassing amount of time stewing there at the meeting table, trying to figure out how to bring the conversation back to that idea and make sure that the supervisor knew that was my idea. I wanted him to see that I have qualifications, I have merit, I have worthiness and significance. I wanted to protect my own reputation. I think a lot of us feel that way sometimes. We're going through a series in the book of Ephesians, the letter to the Ephesian church, Christ, our hope and joy. And today we'll see Christ is also our significance or our reputation. Paul, the apostle, was an eminently qualified man, learned, wise, hardworking, and he had every reason to make sure at the meeting table that everybody knew just how qualified he was. Is that how he operated? Ephesians 3 makes it clear that's not. He said, of this gospel I was made a minister according to the gift of God's grace, which was given me by the working of his power. To me, though I am the very least of all the saints, this grace was given to preach to the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ. This was given to him. He mentions twice. It was a gift of God's grace. And that means that Paul couldn't and didn't earn it. He has every reason, humanly speaking, to make much of his background, his preparation, his qualifications for carrying this ministry out. But his view of God's grace gives him the right mindset, which is humility. Paul realizes my qualifications, my merits, my wisdom, my gifts, they don't matter. I am a beggar. But I was given this grace, and that leads him to joy and humility. Does the gift of God's grace lead us into deeper humility? Would anybody that knows you well, would they say that you have, as you have continued, I hope, to grow in the grace and love of God and Jesus Christ, that has made you more of a humble person, that you have been growing in your view of the Lord, that your view of his grace, and you have been shrinking in your view of self? Would anybody close to you say that? I want to encourage you. The ministries that we have been given in all of the forms, and all of us have a ministry, all of us have a work, all of us have the same spirit and are called to proclaim his excellencies. That is given to us, each one by God's grace, not out of any sense of merit or deserving. Or Paul wouldn't have been there, and Paul wouldn't have said, I am the least of all the saints. That wouldn't be our view. It wouldn't have been Paul's view. I'm going to encourage you to exchange the false riches of your reputation and your merit and your track record, and that this was really your idea. Lay that down, because the riches of God's grace and the privilege of being able to proclaim those unspeakable riches in Jesus Christ, they far outstrip our puny reputations, our pointless significance, our emptiness without him. So I encourage you with that. You are significant in Jesus Christ. And you do have gifts and you have wisdom, but you don't need to stand on them, and you certainly don't need to protect them. Christ himself is your significance, and he will guard you as you proclaim the unspeakable riches of God's grace in him. Go in his grace and peace today.